Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I wanted to do a video on influencer marketing. My apologies for the wind noise in this video. LG, and I'm going to mention this in every video, makes a phone with the V60 that you cannot plug an external microphone into. If you plug an external microphone into the phone, this is one of the only Android phones I've ever used, including phones that cost $90, where it will sound like complete and utter garbage. So I'm going to be replacing this thing soon enough. I got this thing used for like $290, but even at $290, it's honestly not even worth it. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about influencer marketing. So I read this article that said that influencer marketing a few years ago was about 5 billion, then it went up to 7, then it went up to around 8, and it's projected this year to go up much more. And when you see the curve of it, it seems like influencer marketing is going up much faster than standard advertising. Now with standard advertising, you know what you're getting is an ad. You know that someone is trying to sell you something, that they are completely and utterly biased. They do not have your best interest at heart. They just want you to buy their stuff. Influencer marketing is kind of different because you have someone who's telling you why something is really amazing, how well it worked for them, and there's someone that you trust. You listen to them because you trust what they say about politics, about technology, about cars, about air conditioners, whatever podcast or video it is. You watch their stuff because you innately trust them. So there's something different with influencer marketing, because influencer marketing is pretty much just taking people that you like and that you trust and then leveraging that in order to get you to buy something. It's not like when your friend or family member walks over to you and says, hey, this thing that I got is really, really great. You should get it too because it'll be great for you. They're getting paid maybe $5,000 to say, oh, by the way, this thing really helped me in this way and you may want to try it. Now, the interesting thing with influencer marketing going up and up and up is that over the past year and a half, for a number of reasons, you have more people that have time to watch influencer type of content. Whether it's, people that are working from home because of the pandemic, or people who are just not working at all because people like Dictator Cuomo said that your entire field of work or your entire profession is non-essential. Now, even if you wanted to work, maybe you were stuck at home. So you went from doing, an hour, 2 hours a day of YouTube, or 10 or 20 minutes a day of YouTube, to 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 hours because you literally have nothing else to do because your livelihood was taken away from you. And so it's really interesting that as people have less money because they're not able to work, as people have more time to spend on these platforms listening to people that they may admire or look up to, that there's more money getting tossed into influencer marketing at a faster rate than standard marketing, so that you buy more stuff. And here's one thing that I think people should be aware of. If you find this association where as you spend more time on YouTube or Facebook or podcasts, that your bank account gets lighter and lighter and lighter, just do an honest assessment of your buying decisions and just think to yourself, be honest with yourself, did my buying this, did this void or this gaping hole in my bank account, did all these little lines in my credit card statement for things at a 17% APR, was this at all a result of the fact that I'm spending more time listening to random people on the internet talk about things they own or things that they like? Because that's part of how they get you. And I'm going to, so I have links in my description to these Amazon affiliate things, and I don't even want you to trust me. I'm going to explain this. So for me, I had people ask me, what equipment do you use? Wow, when I try to do a board repair, it doesn't come out like that. When I do this, when I try to solder it, the joints don't look this way, whatever. What equipment do you use? What flux do you use? What hot air station do you use? What soldering tip do you use? What soldering tip do you use? What hot air station do you use? What nozzle do you use? And it got annoying. So I did this 1.5 hour long video 6 years ago, the tools I use and why I bought them. Not just what I use, but all with a link, but here's why I use this, so that you can figure out if the thought process I use to decide that this is the tool for me is the same as the thought process that you use to determine that this is the right tool for you. Because maybe we have the same reason for why we use a particular tool, but that reason would get you a totally different tool. I did this video, and in spite of doing it, people will still ask me, every single video, 80 comments a day, what soldering iron tip to use, what hot air station to use, and it just kind of started to drive me nuts. And then I realized I shouldn't be mad at this driving me nuts, because there's something called the Amazon affiliate system where every time somebody asks me, hey, what did you use? Instead of being like, I already answered this question, I can just paste the link and you get paid. Even if they don't buy what I suggested. If someone clicks that link and they buy dog food, you get a commission from it. I don't get paid by sponsors to tell you to buy stuff that I wouldn't otherwise buy. But even though, just because I have those links there, I would still say, don't trust me when I tell you that I own this. And the reason I say that is, if I suggest that you trust me but not others, then you're going to probably start trust. If I say, well, I'm trustworthy, then it may be saying that other people are trustworthy too. Now, what I'm saying is, if you see any relationship between social media and your bank account that's unhealthy, analyze it. And don't trust that the people on the screen have your best interests at heart, ever. Because this is literally now an $8 billion industry to try and separate you from your money. And it's not the way it used to be, where they would have a billboard where it'd be very, very obvious and clear that that person was a shill. It's in this way where you kind of can't really know for sure if they're a shill or not, and they may not disclose it, or they may disclose it and fine print some way you don't see. But because the reason I say this is something that Eli, the computer guy, used to say, is that the people on the screen, very often, people develop a relationship with the person on the camera. And Eli has countless videos on this. I can't explain why it is, but people start to develop a relationship with the people on screen. Sometimes a fantasy relationship. Sometimes they will show up outside of your store, outside of your home, and that's totally not creepy or unwelcome, weirdo. But whatever. But like, people develop a relationship with the person on the screen, and it's to a different degree with different people. It's not all the same for everybody. But when there is that relationship, there's a level of trust. And that level of trust can often get, taken advantage of in these weird ways. And it's just important to be honest with yourself. If you see that your bank account is emptying and that you're in more debt than when you were, before you spent more time on YouTube or Facebook, try to figure out why that is. Why did you buy this specific thing that you buy? Did you buy this because someone linked you to it, or said it's really cool, or did a video on it, or made 5 posts about it? And did they get paid to make that post? Because it's one thing when it's an ad, when it's very clearly a shill. But when there's a line between it being a clear shill and a homie that's telling you that you may want to look into this because it really helped them, but it's not your homie, it's some dude that got paid $5,000 to say that. It's a weird thing all around. And what I say is, don't trust anybody when it comes to this, but also don't trust me. Question everything that you see. So I post those links there because it got aggravating to have to constantly look up the equipment I'm using and constantly link it to people. And this was something that helped people when they actually knew what I was using. They wanted to know what I was using, and I got pissed off having to constantly type it over and over when I already had a video on it. Once I figured out I could actually make a few $100s a month off of doing it, it's like, okay, fine. Now I actually can, get my ass in gear and make this all look nice and post it every single time someone asks me, what mic do you use here? What nozzle do you use here, and stuff like that. But don't trust me, because if I tell you that you can trust me, then you're more likely to trust everybody else. And I don't want fans. I don't want people that watch this stuff and go, I want to get. That's never what I've wanted here. What I've always wanted were viewers and independent thinkers that are always questioning what they see on the screen, that are always questioning what they're being told, whether it's by the manufacturer of their devices when they say they can't be fixed, or whether it's the personality on the screen that's telling them something's cool. Think for yourself. Does this make sense? Does this person have my best interest at heart? If they do have my best interest at heart, are they making a recommendation that makes sense for me? Can I actually afford this right now? Because I would honestly prefer that you trust me a little less if it also means that you trust all of the recommendations for purchases that you make a little less. Because I think that when you combine the fact that people are spending more time on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter than ever before, because again, you had so many people that were literally tossed out of their jobs, aside from the people that are working from home and have the time to watch YouTube while they're doing whatever they're doing, you have so many people that were literally tossed out of their jobs, and you have the budget going up and up and up for this type of influencer marketing as the budgets of individuals who now no longer have jobs go down and down and down. That can kind of be a bit of a toxic spiral, especially when you consider that a lot of people, again, they start to develop these relationships and trust with people that they see on the screen. If you see your credit card debt going up unsustainably, if you see your bank account going down unsustainably, be honest with yourself about it. Try to trace it back to the source, and consider whether or not it's healthy to be subscribed to individuals or to follow stuff that negatively affects your personal finances. And there's absolutely no shame in putting a boundary between yourself and people that affect your personal finances. I have found in my life that when I have really tried to be frugal and when I have tried to to save up for, whether it's moving my business out of my apartment into a retail store or saving up for, a house or whatever the hell I'm saving up for. When I surround myself with people that are doing the exact opposite and who are constantly suggesting that I spend more, it puts me in a negative headspace, and eventually, funny thing happens, I actually wind up spending more instead of working towards my goals. And you have that in so many different forms now, because you have people that are essentially hiding in the bushes that are pretending to be just making content about one thing, when in reality, at the end of the day, their primary goal is to get you to spend more money. And you have people out there that, when you have budgets going up to $8 billion or $9 or $10 billion a year, it's hard to resist this type of stuff. I resisted when NordVPN wanted to give me $3,000. I'm happy I resisted that particular occasion because NordVPN got hacked like literally months later. It's like that $3,000 would have pretty much been me taking in enough money to rent a Nissan Sentra for 2 weeks as a one-way rental in today's fucked up economy, and in trading in for that my trustworthiness and my dignity. It would have been a bad transaction. But if someone were to come to me with $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000, I don't know, $1 million, I don't know, I'm human. Again, just don't trust anybody when it comes to this stuff, and be honest with yourself when it comes to stuff that's affecting your finances. That's about it for today. I'm going to get going. I'm staying in this little hotel in North Carolina. I really like the experience that I just had in North Carolina because it kind of reminded me that the grass is always greener on the other side in some extent. I've been to some parts of North Carolina that are really, really nice, like nice places. And then I got a little stuck over in Lumberton and Fayetteville. It was really interesting because the moment that Steve and I got out of the car, the second we got out of the car, there's this one guy that comes up and he says, "Hey, I could use a little bit of advice from you." And it's like, "Sure." And he's like, "So I want you, feel free to tell me if I'm an idiot or I'm at fault, but so my car got towed just now, and this woman told me that I should park there. Is it her fault or my fault?" And he goes, I forget what Steve said in response, honestly. And then he's like, so now I'm kind of like stuck here, and I don't know, should I blame her? Should I be nice about it? Now I got to call somebody so that I can figure out where my car is. Can I borrow your phone? And then Steve looks and says, "Well, if your car got towed, then what are you driving right now?" And then he's like, And then the guy just kind of like leaves. And it was very obvious. This is the oldest trick in the book. Again, we live in New York City. You think you're going to fucking trick Steve with this shit after he's lived here for 32 years? The guy wanted to take his phone and run off with it. It was so obvious. The moment he hands him his phone, he's driving away and selling it. Another person comes up to us with a very, very similar story, very, very similar ask about 90 seconds later, like I just got out of prison, blah, blah, blah. And he tells this, 2-minute long story that ends with, "Let me just hold this thing for a moment." Then I'm like, all right, let's just walk back. I go to the gas station to pick something up real quick, this like little Lunchables kind of kit thing, little snack, bottle of water. I'm walking back, and then 3 people start following me. I'm like, you know what? Time to get out of here. And it's just kind of funny that even in a really more rural-ish area, I still felt like there was a little bit of New York in there. Like, it's easy after spending so much time in New York City to kind of paint this rosy picture of the rest of the United States as if New York City and cities like New York City are the only places where people just try to scam you left and right and screw you over. But it's really, really easy to go to a place that's pretty much the exact opposite of New York culturally, the exact opposite of it in economy, the exact opposite of it politically, and in every which way, and still have that experience where literally the moment you get out of the car, people are trying to scam you left and right over and over and over again. So it kind of made me feel a little bit of homesick, but it was also, I don't know, it was kind of a fun experience to see that, that the grass indeed is always greener, and that, anyway, I'll see you all later. That's it for today, and as always, hope you learned something. Gonna get going, gonna get on the road, and I'll see you all later.